I am so excited about today's guest because she is bringing something truly special to the show. A fresh, fun, and powerful approach to healing that I think so many of you are going to connect with. Now, you all know me. I love a good journaling session. Journaling is what I turned to during my own grief journey when I needed to process my emotions. So today's guest had me completely locked in. Our guest today is Ashley Wright, founder of Strokes of Freedom, a space dedicated to making healing not just possible, but actually enjoyable. Because let's be honest, healing doesn't always have to be heavy all the time. And Ashley is living proof of that. Today, she's going to walk us through something near and dear to her heart, writing your story your way. Because your story matters, your voice matters, and you get to decide how it's told. I'm so excited she's here, and I know you're going to love this conversation. So without further ado, Ashley, welcome to Highlight Your Healing.
Yay. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I love that intro. I'm like, I like that.
Love it. Like I said, so excited to have you. So if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what Strokes of Freedom is all about.
Absolutely. So I am Ashley Wright. I love people. I love a good giggle. I also love pineapple on my pizza. Some people are not a fan, but I love it. I think I love introducing myself as a human, and then I talk more about just who I am as a coach and as a speaker. But yeah, I am someone who really just sincerely loves life. I love being able to have fun. I love conversations. I love adventures. I am the random friend in the group who will go on whatever adventure I feel like that day just because. But as a coach, as the founder and creator of Strokes of Freedom, I realized like years and years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, that I was very emotionally underdeveloped. And so at that point, I kind of just looked back over life to figure out, okay, well, what mark did I not meet like in life? What did I need more from like my family, from my surroundings? And so from there, I went on this whole entire journey of self-discovery to really figure out like more about me, what I love, what I didn't love, my style, my preference of things. And so after spending about maybe 10 years as a social worker, being provisionally licensed as a therapist, I decided I didn't want to take that route anymore, like to help people. But I knew that service was always going to be at the core of anything that I did. And so Strokes of Freedom came about during that self-discovery journey. I'd gone through a breakup. Hey, honey, I tell you, you really think life is the end of the road, right?
Life be lifing.
And it's like, what in the world? But what I realized during that, Shannon, it was so important for me to see that it wasn't the relationship itself that I was grieving, that I was mourning. It was like, oh, there was such a loss of self, right, within the relationship. And that's what prompted me to really say, okay, I need to like sit down with me, right? Sit down with me and sit down with the Lord to figure out what am I missing? Like, where is there lack that only He can pour into, but with the use of other resources. And I'd always journaled probably at this point, it's been well over 20 some odd years. But it was more so a space to recount like, oh, my crush spoke to me today, or here's what happened at school, very like elementary type things. And then after a while of picking up my journal again, like in that space, I found that I was like writing out prayers and I was writing letters to my ex at the time. I was just talking about the space that I was in and just there was so much unraveling that was happening. And one night I was on my bedroom floor and I was like bawling my eyes out. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And I was just crying. I'm like, God, there has to be something else in this space. And it can't just be me crying all the time. It can't be that this is all that I'm able to focus on. And it was so like audibly clear in that moment. God's instruction was for me to give this back to other people. And so the same way that journaling was helping me like mend and heal and not like lose my mind, because you feel like there's this huge unraveling that's going on. And it was my very first breakup, so I didn't know how I'm supposed to feel. I didn't know any of the things. And so, but that was the instruction. And so I started with that. And it was maybe you hear the instruction, you get to planning and doing, you don't really know what it is you're doing. And so I started doing workshops at my church at the time for some of the young girls there, the young boys there who were kind of like 5th, 6th grade, and helping them identify like, hey, you can feel things beyond mad, glad, happy, sad. You can feel all these different things. And so, but Strokes of Freedom, I was waking up at like 3 o'clock one morning and I'm like, Lord, are we up? We gonna have to, you say something to me because I'm not finna be up just to be up because I'm gonna. And so with that, all that came to my brain was Strokes of Freedom. Because prior to that, there was no official name. And so I had a workshop with the girls at the church. And I'm like, hey, y'all, like, I need for y'all to help me finalize a name. So they came up with some stuff. We wrote all that down. And they're like, yeah, we like this and we like that. And I was like, what do y'all think about strokes of freedom? I mean, it was like an uproar. They're like, oh my gosh, my kids are that. That was amazing. And then I'm like, okay, cool. And so with that, it was truly giving people space like to write their own way to freedom. Oftentimes, even for me as a social worker, a lot of my clients waited until I gave an instruction like, hey, you're free now, or you can go on and do this. But what does it look like to have that authority and operate in that authority yourself and know, hey, I get to write my way to my own freedom. And that's like how Strokes of Freedom came to be. And it's morphed, right, into all these other things. That's like maybe 10 years ago. It's morphed into all these other things. But it was truly a God-given idea, a God-given execution. Because I'm behind the scenes, honey. Don't put me up front because what are we doing here? But slowly, he's been pulling me to the forefront of all the things time and time again. And I count it to be a privilege, honestly, because leave it up to me. I'll stay quiet in the background, minding my own business, supporting other people. But it's very much a front and center to give people access to healing in a way that is suitable for them, in a way that is more enjoyable. Like it's still a process, but it's more enjoyable. And you also get to know I have someone who's in this with me, who's just going to guide me as much as they can. So, yeah.
And I love all of that. When I tell you, you have no idea how almost similar, right, our stories are.
Okay.
And I have this necklace, 333, because God kept waking me up at 3:33 and gave me the vision for journals. It was one word, journals. And that's how my company came to be, J&J Journals. So it's so, oh my goodness, how
I love that.
similar, how close our stories are about how we got started with journaling, because journaling really, before we press record, I was telling you, like, journaling literally saved my life. When I was going through a very, very tough season, all I need to do was just write it down, to just journal, get those emotions on the paper. So I love your story and how journaling helped you along the way. And I love the name Strokes of Freedom and how all of it came to be. I tell you, our stories it's so crazy how close and similar it is. And that vision from God, and you were obedient and it moved, right? You were obedient. So I love that.
Thank you.
So, why do you believe that writing can be such a powerful tool for processing those life experiences that we all go through?
Ooh, honey. I'll say it's powerful because, for one, it's practical, right? It's accessible. So we talked about, hey, it's a sheet of paper, it's a pen, it's a pencil, it's whatever you have access to. But also because what we don't realize sometimes as people, we can live life for 5 years, 20 years, 50 years, 80 years. There's always this subconscious programming that's happening in the back end, right? So there are certain things we can say with our mouths, but our brains and our bodies are maybe having a totally different experience. And so journaling gets you in that space where, as you're writing, I tell my clients often, like maybe 2 to 3 minutes into actually journaling, your subconscious really takes over, and that reveals more of that programming that's running. And so it's one of those things of, no matter the situation, no matter the transition, no matter the where you may find yourself in life, journaling can always find itself there because it helps you think about what you're thinking about, and it helps you to see what you're thinking about. So often we have all this programming running and we just accept it as truth. Some of it's just unknown to us, but we have all these thoughts, right? Over 60,000 thoughts a day. So we have all these thoughts that are always running, and our brains aren't designed to, yes, we can process, right? But they're not designed to hold all the information that we try to have them hold. And so I think about, if I am right now today in this one moment, I can't take all of yesterday into today and then already try to take that into tomorrow as well. And so journaling kind of helps you to center yourself right here, right now with where you are. And it just reveals more of like your thoughts to you. Again, no matter the situation or like the life transition that you may find yourself. And so it just gives you room to actually see, oh, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And then from there, you get to decide, here's my next step. Or you just appreciate the awareness that you've now found through the art of journaling.
Right. Absolutely. So as you are working through your journaling community, what are some of those most common fears, right, that people have about writing their story? Because that could be scary, putting it on paper. So maybe what are some common fears or some things that you've heard as you're working with your journaling community?
I'll say this. The larger ones are, people are so afraid of being seen. And we've probably been there as well. But I think when people really, so many people have told themselves, oh, I've made amends with that. That part of my life is over. But once they're actually writing their story and coming to terms with, hey, because this happened, now I'm having to navigate this other part of life, or now I'm having to deal with anxiety or whatever it is that has come about from all the things they've experienced in life. But I think it's primarily being seen. People are afraid to be honest, because we all know that all of our stories are connected some sort of how, but, oh, I have to edit how I tell my story because I don't want for that person to feel a particular way, or, oh, no one knows about it, so I don't want to shame this person. And so there's all this restriction, so freedom doesn't exist. But I think just in terms of a recap, I would say they're afraid of being seen. They are afraid of being honest. Of course, they're so afraid of, like, what if someone finds it? Like, what if someone finds my journal? What if it's, and the brain, of course, goes to like the most extreme. Somebody's going to find my journal and they're going to contact the New York Times and it's going to be published for the whole world to see. And it's like, honey, that's not going to happen. But it's a real fear. Go ahead, Bray. You didn't say something?
No, absolutely. It's a real fear because I hang on to all of my journals, the ones that I've written in. And I don't know, you can share maybe what you do with yours once you complete a journal. And sometimes I don't complete a whole journal because I like to go get pretty journals. And if I see another one I want, then I'll go and start a whole new one. And I didn't finish the last one. I love to collect them because I just like pretty notebooks and journals. But to your point, some people are afraid of what happens or what do you do with it once you're done with it, once you've wrote those scary, those thoughts and those emotions in the journal. And then also, as you're answering that, can you touch on a little bit about, do you go back and read your journals, the previous journals?
Yeah, I love both of those questions. I collect journals left and right. I literally have probably 10 upstairs just because I went to TJ Maxx or Marshall's or wherever and it was like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. But when a journal is quote unquote complete, it just goes on the shelf. It goes on the shelf. Some of them are like labeled, some aren't. I give myself room and space to say, cool, maybe based on what I primarily wrote here, this could also be a journal that I choose to dispose of, that I choose to burn, right? Because I think that there's sometimes, in leading into the other question, sometimes we go back, well, for me, I'll go back and I'll read, but it's very sparingly. I've taken on the mindset, hey, at that moment in that time, I wrote what I needed to write and I poured out what I needed to pour out. And then anytime I'm done journaling, it leads me to another question. So it's rare I have to go back because then I'm kind of going back, so to speak. But the times that I do allow for myself to really go back in my journals, maybe for my dream journal, it could be for my friendship journal, or it could be for my prayer journal, or just different things, because I have some that are different for different subjects, different, areas of life. And so some of it, because since journaling helps you document your life, some stuff is powerful to go back and read, where it's like, oh, wow, like I really thought that was going to take me out, but I'm still here. Like I survived. Or, that's a cycle that I'm still kind of dealing with. What was happening in life then? And so it gives you that resource, it gives me at least that resource and tool just to have a point of reference, but never in a space where I'm like, let me go back and try to still live in the moment of what was happening then. But it just serves as a way to document your memories and some moments that have happened. So I do go back every now and again, like just if I'm cleaning. If I'm cleaning or locating the journals, I'll find one like, oh no, what's going on here? And it's like, then 2 hours later, I'm just sitting in the middle of the floor, like reading through my journal. But I think for those who are trying to figure out like, what do I do with them? Like, what would they do with them afterwards? It is like person by person. You can store them. You can choose to publish them. You can choose to keep them because maybe you want to pass them along to other people who may also be having a time. Different journals that I've published, like I have a few in the works now, but the ones that I've published were also a collection of different thoughts and journal entries I've had or questions I've asked myself. And now I've placed those inside of a journal for someone else to explore for themselves. So, but it varies. Yeah, it definitely varies.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And I love that. There are definitely some that I go back and I look at my gratitude journal, my prayer journal, and just things that I wrote down and manifested. And I go back and like, look, I wrote this down, even if it was a year ago, and it's happened. Yeah. Right. So sometimes, depending on the journal, I like to go back and look at it or just seeing how much I've grown in that time frame. So just kind of looking for me, those are the things that I do with some of my journals. And most of them I keep around and I haven't actually gotten rid of any. So that's interesting, like how most people, they're different in how they like to hang on to them. Some, like you say, burn them, get rid of them, put them in the closet and don't look back at them ever again. But most of the time I've looked at them just to see how much I've grown from that season of life.
Yeah.
So
It's
what,
a great
what,
reminder for sure.
yeah, absolutely. So is there any advice that you would give to someone who maybe feel like they are not sure what to write?
Mm, yes. Um, I think because looking at a blank page can feel very intimidating. And it's just like, oh, this page is expecting something of me because we're so used in different parts of our lives. We're used to showing up and performing and doing, and the journaling pages don't require any of that from you. So what I often encourage people to think about is, hey, like the pages are there to hear from you. Like they are eager to hear like what you have to say. They want for you to write out your thoughts or just share about your day. But I normally tell people, like, kind of prepare themselves essentially to just be honest with whatever they're going to write. Go into it with the mindset, like, no one's ever going to read this, that this is totally for me. The pages are not going to interrupt me to try to tell me I'm wrong, or they're not going to interrupt me to try to, like, the pages are ready for what it can handle, and the pages are ready for whatever you want to offer it. I'll also add, I'm a huge fan, a huge proponent of journaling prompts. Because sometimes, again, you look at the blank page and it's like, oh, I don't, what, okay, well, dear diary. It's like, no, but a journaling prompt and a prompt, honestly, sometimes you all is also going to be, if there's just a question you have in your head, something you're curious about, that can serve as a prompt. Like it can serve as like, oh, if I'm just looking out in nature, oh, you know what, that tree is so funny. If trees could sing, how would it sound? Right. Or whatever. Like our brains are always on an adventure. And so I tell people, I'm like, exploration is going to always lead to discovery. So when you go to journal, like you're literally just exploring your thoughts, you're exploring your day. You maybe heard something on television and you have some thoughts that came up about that. But to me, it's like approach it from like a place of honesty, knowing that the pages are ready for whatever you can handle, and approach a journal. I think sometimes we hear journaling or we hear about people writing in their diaries and even blogging and things like that. And we think that it's only for the not so great emotions or the negative things that we feel. You can fill those pages with, again, with gratitude, just like you mentioned. You can fill it with celebratory moments and joyous moments or really anything. So it's like the journal itself is a catch-all for anything you're thinking, anything you're feeling, any goal that you have, whatever it is, but just approach it knowing that it's eager to hear, that it wants to hear everything you have to say.
Right, absolutely. And I love both like kind of a free write as well as journal
Mhm.
prompts. Free write for me, I'm just like pouring on the page, just getting out all of the emotions, whatever it is that happened during that day, that week. So I love a good free write journal where I can just write it out. But I also enjoy the prompts for those days where I'm like, I want to focus on this one thing, and prompts kind of help get my thoughts flowing as well.
Mhm.
So can you talk a little bit about, so more so maybe on the corporate spectrum, if you
Mhm.
don't mind kind of going a little bit into detail about that, and without giving away too much information,
Yeah.
how do you partner maybe with workplaces, corporate settings around journaling?
Yeah. For the corporate space, my primary approach is wellness. I think that sometimes people maybe hear like, oh, journaling workshop, and they're not thinking about that being something that, oh, yeah, we want our team members to experience that, or we want our nurses to do this. So I tend to lead with, hey, here's a wellness workshop. And what I love about, I think with God being so creative, like he, of course, has made us very creative. And so I hope you just hear from people, hey, what are some things that your team is dealing with? You all have a survey of different things that your team is trying to work through. How is the cohesion? How's the atmosphere? Whatever it is. And so what I let myself do is hear from the actual people who want to bring me in. And then I curate workshops that are specific to them, to their team, to their industry. But what I lead with often is like, hey, I'm in the work of like servicing humans. So I put the human first because oftentimes you show up to work and you sometimes maybe a number, or it's just like, hey, it's all about productivity. But as an employer, you have humans who also have life stuff happening. Maybe there's grief and loss. Maybe they're also transitioning and moving somewhere. Maybe there's strain in their household, and that impacts how they show up at work. And so I just lead with like overall wellness, like employee wellness workshop, and just curating that sometimes with like an actual activity that they can do, but always making it practical that if you come in here for an hour and a half, you may feel amazing. Not may, you're going to feel amazing and wonderful once you leave, because now you feel more connected to yourself. You feel more seen. Because I leave with the human first, you now are able to see your team members and coworkers differently because they're also having a human experience. But then you leave out and you maybe are great for a couple of days. But I make sure I also leave tools there that people can use on a regular basis that are super practical. And then, of course, I just make my actual communities open to the teams as well. But In short, I leave, human first. Because, man, if the human is taken care of, let me tell you what, it's a game changer.
Right. You have to take care of your people. And I love that you're doing that. And in my current, I have a 9 to 5 corporate girly. We have those wellness type of events as well. And journaling has been one of the focuses of our wellness events. So I love that you're offering that and doing that within the corporate space. So kind of talk to me about when you are leading with your community, your journaling community, what do you hope people take away from your journey?
I hope they take away the importance of like centering self. That's one of the main things. A lot of what comes up for like my clients, either one-on-one or in group settings, people have like lost their voice in so many different spaces. And it's because someone has either directly or indirectly like prompted them to be quiet, right? Prompted them to abandon themselves and all those things. So a lot of the work we end up doing is like recovering and unlearning, right? Unlearning self-abandonment, unlearning, being a people pleaser, unlearning putting yourself last. And so my hope and my desire and what I've seen is them like speaking up more like for themselves and like truly finding their voice. But also from my own journey, I hope they take like, what's the word I want to use? I hope they take a new perspective on like what hope is. I talk to my clients a lot about like, here's where you are now. And there's a whole other side to where you are right now. You maybe can't see it yet because that was huge in my own journey. Like once I gone through the breakup and realized that there was a lot of work emotionally that I had to do, I remember thinking, I'm like, well, there's like another side to like where I am now. Like there's something else on the other side of this. But grief is so big and confusion, all of it's so huge, that's all you can see. But I'm like, no, there's like another side. Like, let me get curious about what could be on the other side. And so my hope and my prayer is often that that's what they would live and lean into is that, hey, there's transformation that takes place. And it starts from a place of grace for yourself, forgiveness, but also curiosity about, okay, cool. If I start doing this work and if I let myself be like devoted to this work solely for me, other people will benefit, yes, but if it's solely for me, if I center myself in this, let me get so curious about what's going to be on the other side of right now, and letting them entertain that. Because I think I smile when I think about it because it's one of those things of outside looking in. We can always see something very differently. And just like people who've mentored us, they can see our situation very differently than we can, right? But I think that the lens and the insight that the Lord has gifted me with, it's like I'm able to hear people, I'm able to hear some of what they're not even saying in a different way than what they're living. And so I smile because I'm like, there's already so much hope that they have that they don't realize they have because they haven't tapped into it yet. Or they think this is the only way it can be. There's no way life can change. This is how it's always been. And then we have our first session. Then we have our second session. And then somewhere in that first and second, it's like the blindfold is removed. And they're like, oh my gosh, like how did I not see this before? And they start to experience like that deeper transformation that's permanent. It's not something that comes and goes. They're so connected to themselves and they start to believe differently about what's possible for them. They start to believe differently about what life can look like. And it started with someone choosing to sit and listen and be in it with them and offer, honestly, their own thoughts back to them, but in a way, in form of a question that challenged them where they didn't feel shame around it or judgment around it. Where it's like, hey, they can just feel that I'm curious and they lean into that. My personality is for sure something that factors into my clients being able to get the results they want because, again, we're all humans having the experience. And so I'm not a stiff, like monotone person. So we're in session, enjoying ourselves, we're laughing, but the work is getting done because I'm open to offering the work and they're open to receiving it. And then before they know it, it's like, their whole world, it just shifts around, all because they chose just to get curious with me too. So yeah.
Right. No, I love that. And to see their lives transform like in real time, right? That's very, very powerful. I love that. So if someone is listening today and they picked up a journal tonight, what would you encourage them to write about first?
So, there's so many things. There's so many things. I think I encourage people to start with what's like least intimidating. And so it could literally sincerely be the absolute best part of my day today was. And that lets them just really reflect more on the day. Typically between kind of around dinner time, somewhere between that 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, depending on people's schedules, that's when we are in our most reflective state. And so if you choose to journal tonight, right? Go hey, you're done with dinner, you're prepping for dinner, or it's in the oven. Give yourself 10 minutes just to sit and just say, hey, what am I even feeling right now? We have to ask the questions that we don't normally ask ourselves because we are so on autopilot. Even if someone else does ask, how you doing? Oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm great. And you keep it moving.
Right.
Ask yourself, hey, how am I doing? What was the best part of my day? How does right now my body feels? And just allow for it to be that you sit in that moment for 10 minutes and just see just what comes up. And again, I say 10 because those first 2 to 3, you're kind of just scribbling, just jotting some. And then before more of the stuff actually comes up because you're giving your brain a question or a task and it's going to hunt down that information for you. But yeah, I would say or even again, I keep them very simple. Now, I have some hard hitting questions and the people love me because of my questions. I have the questions that are kind of rock the people some, but I think just if someone's just starting out and they're just wanting to just say, hey, this is something I want to at least try out. I think even them writing a letter to themselves is always something that is super enlightening. So it's if it is just hey, dear me, or thinking about, hey, the next 6 months, what do I want for life to look like? And journal that as though it's already happened. Today is whatever 6 months from now. Today is whatever. And I just finished up at my job for the day. I got the puppy I wanted, whatever it is, but letting yourself really just write to you, just to check in with yourself and see where you are. And then just go from there. But it gets to be just that simple. It doesn't have to be intimidating. You're just writing to you. We talk to ourselves all day anyway. You're just talking to yourself in the
You're writing it down. Exactly. I love that so much. Actually, I would say this conversation has been so good. And I know our listeners are walking away feeling inspired, empowered, and just ready to pick up that pen and journal. The way you make healing feel accessible and even fun is just such a gift. And I'm so, so grateful that you shared your story with us today. So for anyone who resonated with what Ashley shared today, I want to encourage you. Your story is worth telling. Whether you are just starting your healing journey or somewhere in the middle of it, know that you have everything you need to write it your way. So Ashley, before we go, where can our listeners find you and connect with Strokes of Freedom?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is strokesoffreedom.com. That leads out to my newsletter, it leads out to my social media. Across social media platforms, it's Strokes of Freedom. So just like a pen stroke, Strokes of Freedom, you can find me there. And I'm excited just to connect with y'all and just to make journaling something that's more accessible, something that you enjoy, and something that you get to see the power of for sure.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much again for being here. You are truly a blessing to this community, and we would love to have you back.
I'll be back.
If today's conversation encouraged you, then this show is doing exactly what it was created to do. Now, I need a favor from you. If you have not already, please subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode, because trust me, we have more incredible guests and conversations coming your way. And if this episode blessed you, I would love it if you would just take a moment to leave a rating and a review. It helps more women find this show and join this community. And that means everything to me. Until next time, keep highlighting your healing.